Hi everyone! Welcome to the Analyzing Census Data in SAS Studio tutorial series. In the previous video, I created a bar chart comparing median home values across states, and I was able to do this with minimal preparations needed with the data. However, sometimes you may want to prepare or inform your data before creating a visualization or performing an analysis. For example, you may need to combine multiple tables together, filter your data, or create new columns. In this video, we'll create a listing report that displays the top 5 states by median household income within each geographical region. To create this report, we'll need to prepare our data. First, we'll use the query utility to combine median household income data with a geography lookup table. Then, we'll use the rank data task to rank the median household income values within each region. Finally, we'll use the list data task to create the report. If you want to follow along with me, make sure you watch the introduction video to set up your environment and tutorial data. You can find the link to it below or on the main tutorial page. Before we get started with our SAS Studio tasks, I'd like to quickly show you where the data is coming from. For our median household income values, you can find this information on data.census.gov. The table ID is B19013, and we'll be working with the data from 2018, specifically the one-year estimates for all states in the United States. In addition, we have a geography lookup table that can be found on the Census Bureau's website as an Excel file. I've already downloaded this file just to show you what it looks like, but this explains which region and division each state belongs to. If you'd like to learn more about census regions and divisions, the Census Bureau makes a PDF available explaining what those are. Now, the median household income values table, as well as the geography lookup table, have already gone through the process outlined in the Accessing Census Data and Importing Census Data videos. Those tables are already available to you in your census library, so let's take a look at them in SAS Studio. In SAS Studio, in the navigation pane, I'll expand the Library section, expand My Libraries, and then Census. Our median household income values is in the median income table, so I'll double click on that. And as we saw in data.census.gov, this contains each state's median household income value as well as the margin of error. In addition, the geography lookup table can be found in the geo_lookup table, also in the census library, so I'll double click on that. And this table contains the regions, divisions, states, and associated codes. To view these tables together, I'm going to go up to the census.geo_lookup tab and drag that towards the bottom of the SAS Studio work area until a green check mark appears. When that appears, you can let go of your mouse, and now we have a stacked view of the tables. Now, in order to rank the median household income values within each region, these two tables need to be combined or joined together. A join will allow us to take two or more tables and combine them horizontally on one or more common columns. This will allow us to select data from multiple tables as if the data were in one single table. Now, looking at these two tables, it seems that the state column is the common column. Not necessarily because they have the same column name of state, but more so that they contain the same information, which are the full state names. In order to perform a join to combine these two tables together, we can use a query. A query will allow us to extract data from one or more tables according to criteria that we specify. Before we start a query, I'll first close the census.geo_lookup as well as the census.medianincome tabs. To start a new query, on the toolbar, I'll select the New Options button and then select New Query. As always, the default view is split where we're seeing both the query settings as well as the code and results together. I'm going to change this view to just settings. The first step to working with the query is to add a table to the query. So from the library section, again in that census library, I'm going to drag the median income table onto the Tables tab to add it to our query. To join the geography lookup information with the median household income values, From our census library, this time I'll drag the geo_lookup table and drag it to on top of the median income table. A join is automatically created if the tables include columns with matching names and data types. So in our case, a join was automatically performed on the state columns. You'll notice that the default join type is an inner join, which returns only the subset of rows from the first table, median income, that matches rows from the second table, geo_lookup. In other words, only states that are found in both tables will be included in our final output table. As a side note, we dragged and dropped tables to add tables to the query as well as to perform a join, but alternatively, you can click on the Add button on the Tables tab to add a table or to add a join, and you can also modify the join conditions as well. With the tables now joined together, let's specify what will be included in our output table using the Columns tab. First, to include all columns from the median income table, from the Columns list, I'll drag the median income table onto the Select tab. Back in the Columns list from the geo_lookup table, so I'll expand geo_lookup, I'll drag over the region as well as the division column. Alternatively, you can use the Select Column button to add columns to the Select tab as well. I'm going to use the Move Row Up and Move Row Down buttons to rearrange these columns. So I like them in order of Geo ID, State, followed by Division, Region, Median Income, and then Median Income MOE. Next, let's move on to the Sort tab. First, I'll drag Region onto the Sort tab, and I'll leave the sort direction as ascending. Next, in the Columns list, I'll expand the median income table and drag over the median income column to the Sort tab. For the median income column, in the sort box, I'll change the sort direction to descending. What this means is that the table will first be sorted by region in ascending order, and within each region value, the rows will be sorted by median income in descending order. Now, it's important to keep in mind that it's not necessary for us to sort our data before we use it in the rank data task to rank our data. However, by sorting our data by groups and the value that we'll be ranking on, which is median income, the output table that gets produced by the rank data task will be sorted in rank order. So that's why we're doing it here. The last thing I'll do is change the output table name. So on the Properties tab, I'll just first quickly verify that the output type is table. For the output location, I'll type in census for the census library. And in the output name box, I'll type in median income _ geo. That'll be the name of our output table. Before I give this a run, I'm going to change the view to code/results. And here you can see that the query utility generates structured query language or SQL code. All right, let's give this a run. Taking a look at our output table, you can see that this table combines the median household income data with the geography information. Now that we have the median household income values and geography information combined, we can now rank the median household income values within each region. To do this, I'm going to use the rank data task. To start the task in the navigation pane, I'm going to expand the Tasks and Utilities section, expand Tasks, and then under the Data category, you'll find the Rank Data task. So I'll go ahead and double click on that. Again, the default view is split, but I'll click on Settings just so we can focus on the task settings first. First, on the Data tab for our input table, I'm going to click on the Select a Table button. And from the Census library, I'm going to select the table we just created, median income _ geo, and click OK. For our task roles, each column that is assigned to the columns to rank role will be ranked. We want to rank our median household income value, so I'll click Add Columns, select Median Income, and click OK. Let's take a look at the other roles that are available. I'll expand additional roles. Now, when you assign a column to the rank by role, rankings will be calculated within each group. We want rankings within each region, so I'll click Add Columns, select Region, and click OK. Let's modify the name of the output table. In the dataset name box, I'll type in census.medianincome_rank. You'll notice this option, Create New Variables for the ranked variables. I'm going to make sure that is selected. This specifies that the output table that we are creating will contain the original column as well as the ranked column. Moving on to the Options tab, I'm going to leave the ranking method of ranks, and if values are tied to use option default method, I'm just going to leave those as is. But I will change the rank order option. Using the drop-down list, I'll select largest to smallest. This means that a rank of 1 corresponds to the largest value in the group. Let's change our view to code/results. And let's give this task a run. This table looks similar to what we had before, but now there's an additional column called rank_median income. As you can see, the median household income values are ranked within each region from largest to smallest. Note that this table is in rank order only because we sorted the input table by median income within each region. The last step is to create a listing report that displays only the top 5 states within each region. To do this, we'll use the list data task. So in the tasks and utilities section, again in the data category as well, I'm going to double click on list data. I'm going to leave the view as split, but I'm going to click on the maximize view button to hide the navigation pane. First step on the data tab is to select our input table, so I'll click on the select a table button. And from the census library, I'll select the median income_rank table. Now remember, I'm only interested in the top 5 states within each region. So I need to apply a filter to my data. Right below my table, I'm going to click on filter. And in the filter expression box, I'll type rank_median income less than or equal to 5. So only those states with a rank value of 5 or lower will be in our output report. I'll click apply. Taking a look at our task roles, columns that are assigned to the list variables role are printed in the report in the order that they are listed in this task role here. So to assign columns to this role, I'll click Add Columns. I'll select State, hold down my Control key, and then also select Median Income, and click OK. Next, the Group Analysis by role creates a separate listing for each distinct value of the column we assign to this role. Because we want a separate listing for each region, I'll click Add Columns and assign region to this role. Let's give this a run. Taking a look at our report, you'll notice that we do have separate reports for each of the 4 regions, and only the top 5 states are listed. You'll notice that instead of the column names, the column labels are printed, which are descriptive column headings. I'd like to enhance this report by removing this OBS column and replacing it with region. So back onto the Data tab, we can use the Identifying Label role to replace the OBS column with another column from our table. So I'll click Add Columns, select Region, and click OK. Let's run this again. And here is our updated report. You can see that instead of the OBS values, we now see the region instead. The last thing that I'd like to do is modify the title for this report, which can be done by modifying the code that this task generated. So on the Code tab, I'll click on the Edit button. Again, this creates a modifiable copy of the task-generated code. The only change I need to make is to the first line here, which is our Title 1 statement. Inside of the quotes, I'm going to replace the current contents with top 5 median household incomes by region. Let's give this a run. Here is our final report with our updated title. Again, we see separate reports for each of the regions, and it makes it very easy to see the top 5 states. For example, in the Midwest region, we see that the state with the highest median household income value is Minnesota, followed by Illinois, North Dakota, Wisconsin, and then Iowa. I'll exit out of Maximize View, and let's go ahead and save this program. On the Code tab, I'll click on the Save Program button. I'd like to save this in the Census Data Analysis folder, so I'll select that folder. And I'll name this program Median Income Report and click Save. Okay. I'll go ahead and close the Median Income Report.sas tab and close the rest of the tabs as well. The List Data, Rank Data, as well as the Query tabs. Remember that it's not necessary to save the settings specified in the Rank Data task or the Query utility, because by running the task, the output tables are saved in the Census library, which again points to our Census Data Analysis folder. You've seen how to prepare census data in SAS Studio to create a listing report. We specifically looked at joining tables together and ranking data within groups. Now it's your turn to try this out with the practices in the tutorial notes. If you want to learn about other data preparation techniques, such as creating a new column and grouping values into categories, make sure to take a look at the challenge practice. Thanks for watching.